not gonna say this Crawford versus Canelo fight was rigged, but what type of information was told to Adin Ross right before the fight?
I got to this call. Very important call. Jordan, we're switching the bat. We're definitely switching our bat.
Oh my God. What you mean? No. Don't say it with Canelo.
We're going Crawford.
If he's saying that, everybody goes slam
Jordan,
Crawford.
we're going Crawford.
This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat, that fire. All right, let's talk about it. In today's world, we have what's called a bunch of slow and basically what we would say retarded people. Let's just be honest. Retardation is so rampant in today's world. The reason why mental retardation is something that is so imminent is because you have to look at it for what it is. The fact that everyone universally is supporting Terence Crawford, that shows you mental retardation at its highest levels. Let me say it again. The fact that everyone is supporting Terence Crawford for the blue pill matrix nonsense that you just saw as a result of you thinking that he won, it shows you mental retardation at its highest levels. What is mental retardation? It's neuro-linguistic programming. What is neuro-linguistic programming? It's brain full of mush and brainwashed dodo heads accepting what's put in front of them instead of analyzing the data that is presented. We know Victor Conte is dirty. We know Victor Conte has served time in jail in 2005. We know Victor Conte multiple times has been alleged as someone who is not clean, as someone who should stay so far removed from athletes, as someone who should be so far removed from sports, as someone who should be so far removed from being an authority on anything. But people are yet still supporting his nonsense. They're still supporting his rubbish. When you look at Victor Conte, what do you see? You see a mafia boss. When you see a mafia boss, what do you think initially? Suspicious, fishy, criminal activity, fraudulent. Let me say it again. When you see a mafia boss, what do you see initially? Fishy, criminal activity, suspicious, and you know something is wrong. So you have to tell yourself, it's a things that make you say, It's a things that make you say, but in its most visceral form of cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat truth-telling fashion, Terence Crawford didn't really win a fight. What Terence Crawford is showing you that he can get away with being artificially enhanced. So you have to understand, in today's world, the mark of the beast is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the enemy to natural intelligence. But see, a lot of people don't use natural intelligence. They're so lazy, they let artificial intelligence do the work. Terence Crawford is artificially enhanced. So he has the mark of the beast in him. Well, people are like, but he's black and you're black. You guys have to understand, I'm a descendant of Moses. And the last time I checked, Moses went against his own Hebrew Israelites when they weren't on the side of truth. You see, when truth is in the building, God through the man Christ Jesus is in the building. Let me say it again. When truth is in the building, God through the man Christ Jesus is in the building. Because God is where truth is, for he is the spirit of truth, right? For those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. But we know there's a spirit of error. Terence Crawford has sold his soul. That's fine and dandy. But what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul in the process? We know this to be true. The last time Terence Crawford was the real Terence Crawford was right before the Spence fight. Let's be honest. Earl Spence is drugged up. Earl Spence wasn't himself. Michael Jai White came out on Vlad TV and made it very public and known, but people want to shoot that guy down. Michael Jai White is a very credible source. This is a guy who's been known years and years of being ethical, of being moral, of never wanting to put himself or propagate himself in a position to where he's in a precarious situation, has even basically not accepted roles because of integrity. And this guy's telling you, I have it on good authority that Earl Spence was not himself on that fight. But you have people that are Rudy Poo. You have people that are plum brains. You have people that are classic dotes and troglodytes that accepted the nonsense that's in front of them. The rubbish that's in front of them. Because you have to understand the thought process behind people. They have what's called mental retardation. You don't think the mass media understands this? You don't think people that have position and propagated people in front of you that their soul has been sold, you don't think they know this? They've been knowing this since the beginning of time. That all we have to do is neurolinguistic. All we have to do is brainwash these people into what's called brain full of mush and brainwash dodo heads, and they'll believe any nonsense that's put in front of them. Off of the association that Terence Crawford is aligned with Victor Conte, the immediate reaction in your brain should be questionable at best. If you notice, he knows everything, and Tom Ross, he knows everything was the trendsetter. Tom Ross was the pathfinder in basically letting you guys know that Terence Crawford was on PEDs. But you got a lot of chong chong YouTubers. You got a lot of cucarachas. You got a lot of no puedo caminas that are around now acting like they were the forefronts of telling you this information when really they're just regurgitating what a he knows everything, i.e. a trendsetter, what a Tom Ross TV, i.e. a pathfinder told you from the inception years ago. And see, they don't need to give us credit. They don't even need to mention us. Just the byproduct of them talking about it tells you that they've given us the credit. Why? Because when it's all about giving the truth is going to be regurgitated no matter who's telling the truth. But we want to make sure you guys know initially who gave you the truth. See, it's going to come out that Terence Crawford is a dirty fighter. All you have to do is pay attention. Look at his career. When has Terence Crawford ever had bone-crushing power to make Errol Spence bleed the way he did? I don't give a fuck that Errol Spence was in a car accident and all this. Yes, and I said that. I know it's going to affect the algorithms, but sometimes you have to say some things so that it hits, so people can understand what you're talking about. He had bone-crushing power to make Errol Spence bleed from the first round. Errol Spence is never known to be bleeding in the first round of any fight. That's performance enhancement drugs. If you go and pay attention at the press conference before leading up to the fight, Terence Crawford was getting into it with people in the crowd. You know what that's called? It's called basically side effects. If you know anything about performance enhancement drugs, it's side effects of roid raging. There is such a thing, but you got to go do deep research. But you know, most people don't deep research. Most people just believe what's on the surface. Let me say it again. Most people don't deep research. They just believe what's on the surface. So they're not going to be in depth to understand what roid raging is. So he obliterates Errol Spence. Okay, fine and dandy. You could believe that rubbish all you want. You could not believe a Michael Jai White. You could not go by what a he knows everything and what a Tom Ross TV tells you. But then now let's look at the Madrigal fight. Doesn't that tell you a clear picture? How does he go from obliterating an opponent? He goes up in weight class. Didn't he go up 2 weight classes with Canelo Alvarez? Why does he look so much better in that fight? But when he went up against Madrigal, he didn't even look subpar. You know, like you have subpar credit. He didn't even look subpar credit. He looked like he had poor credit in that fight. How did he go back to no power, look old, couldn't move? Because he was off the stuff to deceive you guys. See, that was a deception to make you guys think that he was natural. You see what him and Victor Conte did? They pulled the wool over you guys' eyes. They blinded you guys. They put you in what's called a spiritual slumber. This is what deception is. Hold up, we got to get you looking back natural again. We got to get you looking back, looking simple so people don't think, okay, damn, you just obliterated. Because then it would be obvious that he's on performance enhancement drugs. Clearly, Madrimov is not the name of an Errol Spence. He's not a name of Canelo Alvarez. So it's easy for Terence Crawford to be able to hide behind the mask of that. But then he goes and fights Canelo, but he rehydrates appropriately. No such ever time in boxing has a guy gone up so many weight classes and they're so prepared for it. The only way that you could be prepared for something like that is if you're on performance enhancement drugs. If you look at it, Terence Crawford looked no different at 168 than he did at 147. Very cut, very lean, muscles was on point. He's supposed to look bulkier. No matter the training, he's supposed to look more lethargic. You don't rehydrate appropriate like that unless you're taking The high technology of performance enhancement drugs that they have out. Performance enhancement drugs in today's world is so advanced that you can take these things no matter what weight you're at and still perform as efficient and still perform at the same level. This is why LeBron James can play as long as he's playing and still be at quote unquote an elite level, because he's on the juice. But this is the same reason why Terence Crawford can look the way he's looking at 147 as he looked 168. Let's be honest. Every boxer that has gone up in weight classes have never looked this great. They always look more pudgy when they're doing it naturally. You know why? Because they have more body fat percentage. And when you have more body fat percentage on you, your body's not supposed to be as cut. I know this to be true. I'm a certified personal trainer with a corrective specialist background. So I know these things like the back of my head. I don't let people fool me. And those who have known me for years know I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the health and fitness realm. Everything that I say always gets backed up. But when you got a guy who's cut like that, moving up in weight class as cut, it's because he's on the juice. We know this to be true because we see this with bodybuilders at the highest levels with the IFBB. We see this with CrossFitters at the highest levels. We even see this with powerlifters that have gone from a lot of body fat percentage to all of a sudden they're cut. When you see people are cut, especially 30 plus years old, well, we know technology tells us even at a younger age, shit, we got guys in their younger age taking this shit. But if anybody's going to show that they're more natural, it would be at your peak of your testosterone. Your testosterone starts to dip at 2% every year after you're 30 years old. How's Terence Crawford at 36, about to turn 37 years old, able to be as cut at 168 as he is at 147? See, you guys are letting yourselves fall for this bullshit. You're letting yourself fall for this fuck shit when it's right in front of you. Victor Conte is telling you to your face, if I want to be able to go undetected, I can go undetected, but I'm clean. Really? You guys are really believing anything that comes out of this guy's mouth that's ethical, as moral, as something that is law and truthful? Isn't he the one at VADA that presented the testing before Terence Crawford's fight? Let me explain why that's questionable at best. Victor Conte, along with 4 or 5 other people, founded VADA. Right there, that's questionable. That's a conflict of interest. So him providing the test is him basically saying, look, let me go behind closed doors. We're going to omit things that can come across as undetectable PEDs, and we're going to present things that look legal, that look natural. This is how he can manipulate the system. And I guarantee you, watch, you guys are going to be like, yeah, he knows everything, said that. He's going to come out and provide Terence Crawford's test. And again, the letterhead is going to say VADA on it. Right there, you got to question everything. But people want to sit here and act like what they're seeing is greatness. Nah. See, when everybody's questioning your greatness, it's not greatness. Because let me tell you something about greatness. Greatness is unquestionable. Greatness is something you just know it is. Like Michael Jordan, you just know it is. Floyd Mayweather, you know it is. Kobe Bryant, you know it is. Tiger Woods, you know it is. Tom Brady, you know it is. Jerry Rice, you know it is. Joe Montana, you know it is. Deion Sanders, you know it is. But why are we questioning the likes of a LeBron James? Why are we've been questioning the likes of Canelo Alvarez? People act like I'm a Canelo fan all of a sudden. I don't care for Canelo as much as I don't care for Terence Crawford. But let me ride a little bit on this video because I gotta ride. You know, when you're telling the truth, you gotta ride. So get in the vehicle and let us ride. Because like Chameleon there, we riding dirty, right? So we're gonna ride dirty to expose the dirty, right? I'm not dirty, but we're gonna ride dirty to expose the dirty. And let's ride so we can expose the dirty. What is the dirtiness of this? Terence Crawford is dirty. He is a performance enhancement drug-filled fighter. His association with Victor Conte needs to be questioned on every level. The fact that Victor Conte keeps coming out gaslighting and keep coming out and basically projecting. These are the elements. When somebody comes out and tells you the opposite of what they're doing, you have to think automatically the opposite, especially when their track records tells you. In the 48 Laws of Power, it tells you reputation is everything. Guard it with your life. So if your reputation is tainted, you automatically got to question the reputation. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat two-telling fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Hicks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the Hicks. This is He Knows Everything. Checking out.